Standard 7, Subject English, Chapter number 4.6, Papa Panov Special Christmas. Papa Panov Special Christmas is a special story written by Leo Tolstoy. This is an interesting story to introduce young children to the value of kindness. Papa Panov is an elderly cobbler who lives all by himself in a small Russian village. Now let us see how Papa Panov celebrates his Christmas Eve. Papa Panov's special Christmas. It was Christmas Eve, and although it was still afternoon, light had begun to appear in the shop and the houses of the little Russian village, for the short winter day was nearly over. Excited children scurried indoors, and now only muffled sound of chatter and laughter except from the closed shutter. It was Christmas Eve, and it was afternoon time, but still lights were on in the shops and the houses of the little Russian village. As it was short winter day, and in winter it became dark, and the excited children scurried. Scurried means they ran here and there indoors, and now only muffled sound, chatter and laughter escaped from closed shutter. Means slowly the noise was becoming less. Old Papa Panov, the village shoemaker, stepped outside his shop to take one last look round. The sound of happiness, the bright lights, and the faint but delicious smell of Christmas cooking reminded him of the past Christmas time, when his wife had still been alive and his own children little. Now they had gone. Now Papa Panov is stepping out of his shop to look around. He can hear the sound of happiness, and the bright lights can be seen, and the faint, delicious smell of Christmas cooking were there, and that tasty smell reminded him of his wife, who was alive, and his children were little, but now they had gone. His usually cheerful face, with the little laughter wrinkle behind the round steel spectacles, looked sad now. But he went back indoors with a firm step, put up the shutter, and set a pot of coffee to heat on charcoal stove. Then, with a sigh, he settled in his big armchair. Usually Papa Panav's face is always cheerful. Cheerful means happy, with a little laughter and wrinkle were hidden behind the round steel spectacles. Look now sad. Why? Because he was remembering his wife and children. But even in the sadness, he went back indoors with a firm step, put up his shutter, means closed the doors, and set a pot of coffee. Means he started making a coffee on the charcoal stove. Then with a sigh, means a long breath, he settled means sat on a big armchair. Papa Panov did not often read tonight, but he pulled down a big old family Bible, and slowly tracing the lines with one forefinger, he read again the Christmas story. He read how Mary and Joseph, tired by their journey to Bethlehem, found no room for them at inn, so that Mary's little baby was born in a cowshed. Now Papa Panov was not having habit to read the book, but at that night he removed the old family Bible, and slowly tracing the lines, means keeping the fingers on those lines, he read the Christmas story. He read that how Mary and Joseph were tired by the journey to Bethlehem. Okay, and then they wanted room, but they did not found any room in the inn. So Mary Little baby was born in the cowshed. Oh dear, exclaimed Papa Panov. If only they had come here, I would have given them my bed and I could have covered the baby with my patchwork quilt to keep him warm. Now Papa Panov is telling, oh dear, if they would have come here, I would have given them my bed and the patchwork quilt means a different colors cloth patched on that. He read on about a wise man who had come to see baby Jesus bringing him splendid gift. Now he was reading about the wise man who had come to see the baby and had brought many splendid gift means magnificent gift. Papa's Panav's face fell. I have no gift that I could give him, he thought sadly. Then his face brightened. He pulled down the Bible, got up, and stretched his long arm to the shelf high up in the little room. He took down a small dusty box and opened it. Inside was a perfect pair of tiny leather shoes. Now Papa Pano was feeling very bad that he had no gift to give him. Then his face brightened. Brightened means he remembered something. So he put down the Bible and he stretched his long arm to pull something up on the high shelf. He took down a small dusty box he had taken. A small box, and he opened it and he found a pair of tiny leather shoes. Papa Pano smiled with satisfaction. Yes, they were as good as he had remembered. The best shoes he had ever made. I should give him those, he decided as he gently put them away and sat down again. Now he was having a smile of satisfaction on his face, and he told, I will give these shoes to him, and gently put them aside, and he sat down. He was feeling tired now, and further he read, the sleepier he became. The further he read and the sleepier he became. The print began to dance before his eyes, so that he closed them just for a minute. In no time at all, Papa Panov was fast asleep. Now he was feeling sleepy. Now he was feeling very tired. Okay, as he was reading, the letters were dancing around his eyes. So he closed his eyes and he was fast asleep. And as he slept, he dreamed. He dreamed that someone was in his room, and he knew at once, as one does in dream, who the person was. It was Jesus. Now, as he slept, he started dreaming also, and he dreamed that someone was there in his dream, and that was a person, and he was Jesus. You have been wishing that you could see me, Papa Pano, he said kindly. Then look for me tomorrow. It will be Christmas Day, and I will visit you. But look carefully, for I shall not tell you who am I. Now Jesus is telling in the dream that you wanted to see me, you wanted to meet me, so I will be there tomorrow. It's Christmas Day. I will visit you, but you pay attention carefully and you recognize me. When at last Papa Pano woke, the bells were ringing out, a thin light was filtering through the shutters. Bless my soul, said Papa Pano. It's a Christmas Day. Now in the morning, when he woke up, he was hearing a bell ringing, a thin light filtering, coming from the space of the door. Filtering means coming from the space of the door. He said, "Bless my soul, it's a Christmas day." He stood up and stretched himself, for he was rather stiff. Then his face filled with happiness as he remembered his dream. This would be a very special Christmas after all, for Jesus is coming to visit him. How would he look? Would he be a little baby as at that first Christmas? Would he be a grown man, a carpenter, or the great king? That he is God's son. He must watch carefully the whole day through so that he recognize him however he came. Now Papa Panov stood up and his body had become stiff. So he was stretching himself. Then his face was filled with happiness. He was thinking that today will be my special Christmas as Jesus is going to come according to his dream. And now he started thinking he would be a little baby or a grown man or a carpenter or a great king as he is the king of God. Now I must watch carefully and recognize him. Papa Panov put on the special pot of coffee for his Christmas breakfast, took down the shutters and looked out of the window. The streets were deserted. No one was stirring yet. No one except the road sweeper. He looked as miserable and dirty as ever. And well he might. Whoever wanted to work on the Christmas day and in the raw, cold and bitter freezing mist of such morning? Now Papa Panov put a special pot of coffee as he was waiting for someone and for his Christmas breakfast took down the shutters. Now he opened the shutters and looked out of the window. The streets were deserted. Deserted means there was no one moving there. Stirring means to move. No one except the road sweeper. Only the road sweeper was doing his work. The road sweeper looked miserable and dirty as ever. And well, he might. Whoever wanted to work on Christmas Day, yes, they will be unhappy on the Christmas who wants to work. But they have to do work on this raw cold. Means raw cold means bitter and freezing cold. Papa Panov opened the shop door, letting the thin stream of cold air come in. He shouted across the street cheerily, "Come in and have some hot coffee to keep out the cold." Now Papa Panov opened the door of the shop and the cold air came in and shouted, "Come in," across the street. So happily he shouted, "Come in and have some hot coffee to keep out the cold." He was calling the sweeper. The sweeper looked up scarcely able to believe his ears. He was only too glad to put down his broom and come into the warm room. His old clothes steamed gently in the heat of the stove. As he clasped both red hands around the comforting warm mug as he drank. Now sweeper looked scarcely, means almost not, means he was not believing that he was called by Papa Panov. He was not able to believe. He was only too glad to put down his broom. He was very happy to put his broom down and he went into the warm room. His old clothes steamed. Steam means very hot. Gently in the heat of the stove he clasped, means to hold. Clasped means to hold the both red hand around the comforting warm mug as he drank. Papa Panov watched him with satisfaction, but every now and then his eyes straight to the window. It would never to do to miss a special visitor. Expecting someone, the sweeper asked at last. So Papa Panov told him about the dream. Now Papa Panov was sweeper with satisfaction, but every now and then his eyes used to straight. Straight means look to the window. He did not want to miss the special visitor. Now sweeper is asking, "Are you expecting someone to come?" So Papa told him about his dream. "Well, I hope he comes," the sweeper said. "You have given me a bit of Christmas cheer I never expected to have. I had I said you deserve to have your dream come true," and he actually smiled. Now sweeper is also telling that I hope he comes. You have given me a little happiness on the Christmas Eve, and I think you deserve to have a dream to come true. When he had gone, Papa Panov put on the cabbage soup for his dinner, then went to the door again, scanning the street. He saw no one, but he was mistaken. Someone was coming. Now, as the sweeper left the house, Papa Panov put the cabbage soup for his dinner, and again he went near the door to scan. Scan means looking to the street. He saw no one, but he mistaken someone was coming. Now he saw someone coming to the street. The girl walked so slowly and quietly, hugging the wall of the shops and the houses, that it was a while before he noticed her. She looked very tired, and as she was carrying something. As she drew near, he could see that it was a baby, wrapped in a thin shawl. There was such sadness in her face and in the pinched little face of the baby that Papa Panov's heart went out to them. Now, as he was watching outside, he saw the little girl walk slowly and quietly. As she was hugging means holding the walls of the shop and the house, and there was something in her hand, means she was carrying something. As she came near, Papa Panov recognized that she was having a little baby wrapped. Wrapped means covered in a thin material, that is in a shawl. But she was very sad. Her face looked and pinched. Pinched means very thin. Little face of the baby. Now Papa Panov's heart went out, means he felt very sorry. "Won't you come in?" he called, stepping outside to meet them. "You both need a warm fire and a rest." Now Papa Panov called them. He told them to come inside. You both need a warm by fire and a rest. The young mother let him shepherd her indoors, and to the comfort of the armchair she gave a big sigh of relief. Now the mother means the girl. She wanted a rest, so she went indoors and she sat on the armchair. She gave a big sigh, means a long breath of relief. I'll warm some milk for the baby," Papa Panov said. "I have had children of my own. I can feed her for you." He took the milk from the stove and carefully fed the baby from the spoon, warming her tiny feet of the stove by the stove at the same time. Now Papa Panov told that I will warm some milk for the baby, and I will feed her. As I also had small children, I know how to feed them. And Papa Panov started feeding her, the warming her tiny feet by the heat of the stove at the same time. She needs shoes, the cobbler said. But the girl replied, I can't afford shoes. I have got no husband to bring home money. I am on my way to the next village to get work. Now Papa Panov told that she needs shoes, but girl replied that I cannot afford because she is not having husband. As she has no money, she is going to the next village to get work. Means she is in search of work. A sudden thought flashed through Papa's Panov's mind. He remembered the little shoes he had looked at last night. But he had been keeping those for Jesus. He looked again at the cold little feet and made up his mind. Now, as a sudden flashed means he suddenly remembered that he had kept the shoes last night, but he had a second thought um, that he had kept those shoes for Jesus. But he looked again to the cold feet and made up his mind. Try this on her, he said, handing the baby and the shoes to the mother. The beautiful little shoes were a perfect fit. The girl smiled happily, and the baby giggled with pleasure. Now Papa Panna gave the shoes to the mother and the baby and told that try this to her. The beautiful little shoes were a perfect fit for the baby. The mother smiled happily and the baby giggled, means to make a giggling sound with pleasure. You have been so kind to us, the girl said when she got up with her baby to go. May all your Christmas wishes come true. Now girl was happy and she got up from the armchair with her baby and told to Papa Pano that may your Christmas wishes come true. You are very kind person. But Papa Pano was beginning to wonder if his very special Christmas wish would come true. Perhaps he had missed his visitor. He looked anxiously up and down the street. There were plenty of people about, but they were all faces that he recognized. They were neighbors going to call on their families. They nodded and smiled and wished him Happy Christmas. Or beggars, and Papa Pano hurried indoors to fetch them hot soup and generous hunk of bread, hurrying out again in the case he missed the important stranger. Now, after the girl left, Papa Pano began to wonder that my special Christmas wish would come true or not. Then he was thinking, I think I have missed my special guest. He looked anxiously up and down the street. Anxiously means worried manner. There were plenty of people, and he was knowing everyone, and all of them nodded him and smiled and wished him Happy Christmas. And he was always seeing out, he called out the beggar and all the unknown person and hung them bread and the soup, but hurrying out again in case he had missed the important stranger. All too soon the winter dusk fell. Papa Pano next went to the doors and strained his eyes. He could no longer make out the passer-by. Most were homes and indoors. By now, anyway, he walked slowly back into his room at last, put up the shutters and sat down wearily in his armchair. So he had just been a dream after all. Jesus had not come. Then all at once he knew that he was no longer alone in the room. Now all too soon the winter dusk fell, means it started becoming dark. Papa Pano went out next door and strained. His eyes, strained means stretched beyond the limits. He could see no longer the passer. No one was passing by. Most of were home and indoors by now anyways. All were going into their homes and they all were known person. No unknown person was seen on the road. Now he also walked back to his room and he closed the shutter and sat down wearily. Wearily means extremely tired in his armchair. So he was thinking that my dreams has not come true. Now Jesus had not come. Then all at once he knew that he was no longer alone in the room. This was not a dream, for he was wide awake. At first he seemed to see before his eyes the long stream of people who had come to him that day. He saw again the old road sweeper, the young mother and her baby, and the beggar he had fed. As they passed, each whispered, "Didn't you see me, Papa Panov?" Now he was recalling all the person that he met in the morning. First the sweeper, the young mother and the baby, and the beggar he had fed. As they passed, each whispered, means speak quietly, "Didn't you see me, Papa Panov?" "Who are you?" he called out, bewildered. Then another voice answered him. It was the voice of his dream, the voice of Jesus. "I was hungry, you fed me," he said. "I was naked, you clothed me. I was cold, and you warmed me. I came to you today in every one of those who helped and welcomed." Bewildered means confused. "Who are you?" Now was answering. "I was hungry, you fed me. I was naked, you gave me clothes. I was cold, and you warmed me. I came to you today in every one whom you have helped and welcomed." Then all was quiet and still. Only the sound of big clock ticking could be heard. A great peace and happiness seemed to fill the room, overflowing Papa Spano's heart until he wanted to burst out singing and laughing and dancing with joy. "So he did not come after all," was all that he said. Now everything was quiet, only a clock noise was heard. Now Papa Panov was very happy and he wanted to dance, sing and laugh with joy. "So he did come after all," was all that he said. Thank you.